YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here in the lore of the Little Waaagh. It may be the Little Waaagh, but it's got big potential. I'm pretty excited to go test this. This is a lore of magic that I really enjoy. It's got some really cool spells in it, and honestly I wish all lores were more like this in the sense that just about everything in this lore actually makes sense. Just to quickly start off, we're going to be taking a look at Sneaky Stabbin, Vindictive Glare, Icky Nuisance, Gorkel Fix It, Night Shroud, and Curse of the Bad Moon. Let's get to talking about these. So we'll start off over here on the left with Sneaky Stabbin, which gives you guys extra armor piercing damage and melee attack. It's pretty straightforward, not a huge time that it lasts, but it's relatively cheap in terms of the cost of your mana. Let's go give it a try and see how much difference it can make when it's like maybe same unit on same unit. So there is no overcast of Sneaky Stabbin. It doesn't last a long time, but like I said, it's relatively low on mana cost. It's easy to cast. You can click it on one of your units, or you can click it on the ground. It has a pretty nice radius of effect, so it can really impact entire battle lines. And we'll just use it here head to head with some other black orcs and see what kind of difference it makes. You see it lasts, the timer here counting down. My guy's doing marginally better than the enemy black orc. So this is same unit on same unit in the same formation going head to head. And you can see that it gave my guy some extra armor piercing. They even got lucky and killed the enemy lord that was in that unit. The cooldown's not too bad. You can use this pretty frequently in a battle, and like I said, because it only requires 6 magic, it's pretty good spell. It's great for campaign. It's really quite useful in multiplayer as well. And I find the lore of the Little Waaagh to be one of the most potent infantry buffing lores. Well, I say that. You've also got the big Waaagh that has Here We Go, I think is what it's called. That one's also really good. So I find that the orcs tend to have the best infantry buffing magic, which is good. It goes along with kind of the fact that some of their infantry is rather low in terms of leadership and some of the other stats, so it gives them the advantage. You can see that this is giving my orcs a clear advantage here. It's not like a big giant advantage, but if it just comes to giving your guys the slight edge in combat, sometimes that's important. And in this case, it's definitely doing that. You can see how often I'm able to use it. We've been able to use it several times in the midst of combat here. It's actually fairly close. My guys are ahead now by a few hundred hit points. I'll go ahead and fast forward the rest of this just to show you how the test plays out. This can be useful in cavalry fights. It can be useful in infantry fights. It can be useful in helping your lord. There's a ton of things it can be useful for. If you're rear charging with something like Spider Riders or Wolf Riders, which aren't that strong, the Night Goblin Shaman can Vanguard deploy. So it's extremely useful for something like that. So I find this to be a very useful spell. It would definitely come highly recommended by me. Let's check out what is next. I know I already got the loading screen in there, so we might as well just come on in here. So we've got Vindictive Glare, which is a magic missile spell. It's not going to have very high armor piercing. This is going to best serve as like an anti-wizard type of spell, or a low armor unit, maybe like a giant. It might be able to do a lot of damage to something, like I said, it's going to come low armor. It does have an overcast version that just has an increased number of missiles. It's not going to give you more penetration, just the increased number of missiles. Let's go try this out. Like I said, should be most useful against an unarmored single target or a low armored single target. So here's the Great Shaman, the Great Goblin Shaman on a wolf, which is pretty cool. We're going to overcast this spell, but we're going to get a little bit closer to make sure it gets a good solid hit. I've got a giant over here. It's only 30 armor. It's got 8,300 hit points. Let's see what an overcast, what a Vindictive Glare can do to this guy. There's a chance that it's going to miscast whenever you do the overcast, so it is possible you'll take damage. And look at that, all those connected. It is a pretty fair amount of damage to the giant. It took off, about 1,500 hit points. So definitely not a bad result in terms of going against, such a powerful enemy here. And you can see that the cooldown time on it is relatively short. If you're shooting at a target that, again, like a wizard or something that's relatively low hit points and low armor, you don't necessarily have to overcast it, but if you do, I mean, you can sometimes nearly one-shot, or at least you could, unless they patched it. That time I got a miscast. so it did a little bit of damage to me, but again, you can see great results in terms of damage. And again, the cooldown time is only about 20 seconds, and it's relatively low cost of mana, means that it's going to be particularly useful. So a couple of casts there, didn't quite use all my mana, but a pretty good chunk of it, but it's also left the giant close to 50% hit points. Is there some reason why you don't want to run when I double click? Thank you. Let's hit play, so we'll get one more. Just kind of see the Vindictive Glare at work. We're going to try it next on like a light wizard or something, just to kind of demonstrate that. But you can see that against a giant, it can definitely be a helpful tool because it does a lot of damage. So I forgot to give the light wizard ground forces, which is not good because it can potentially lose all its leadership. But let's just show you what Vindictive Glare is capable of on a light wizard, which is, again, relatively low armor, not huge hit points. You can see that the effects are devastating. It takes almost 50% of the hit points off. So the Vindictive Glare is very good whenever you're trying to take on something like a light wizard. So definitely find it to be well suited to that function, and would highly recommend it. Like I said, kind of botched the test a little bit because I didn't give these guys a ground unit, but you can see what it's going to do. It's going to be effective. So there you go, Vindictive Glare. So the next spell up is Icky Nuisance, which takes weapon damage away from an enemy unit. And I actually find that, to me, one of the most interesting uses of this is dropping it right behind a sneaky Stabbin. So I'm going to demonstrate that. We went Black Orc on Black Orc last time. I'll do the same this time just so you can kind of see how clear it makes the results. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in, I'm going to use an Icky Nuisance on the enemy, and then I'm going to turn around and pop a sneaky Stabbin, and you'll see that the giant difference it creates can be extremely helpful. So let's go take a look at Icky Nuisance. Very nice name for a goblin hex, by the way. We're going to put Icky Nuisance and Sneaky Stabbin to work here, so let's get this done. We'll move the Great Shaman up, and we're going to use Icky Nuisance first. You can target it on an enemy unit, and it's going to have a very nice area of effect. And then, like I said, you can immediately follow it up with a Sneaky Stabbin, and it's going to put a huge differential between their men here at 0 melee attack and my men now at 68 melee attack. So you should see that these guys are going to suffer pretty badly here. Their weapon damage is down, everything's down. So you can see that it creates a pretty big differential between the two units. I'm up to 11 or 12 kills here, only 3 on this unit. So to me, Icky Nuisance is good, Sneaky Stabbin's good. The two of them put together can really turn around an infantry fight really fast. And you can see that there because Icky Nuisance lasts for a full-on 30-something seconds. It's pretty brutal. You can see the impact. I mean, just look at the health bar on the enemy Black Orc versus mine. It's significant. Icky Nuisance does have a longer cooldown period, which is unfortunate. I say it's unfortunate. It's fortunate for the player who's having it used against them. But again, when you put these two in concert with each other, I find them to be extremely useful. So watch, I can do it again, and this ought to be enough to just pretty much finish this off. I hate how you can't queue up 2 spells to cast one right after the other. It's kind of annoying. But in any case, there, we'll get it done. So there we go. Yeah, you can see the Black Orcs are going to be very, very soundly defeated by my Black Orcs. Just again, the differential that this creates is pretty extreme, and it's pretty understandable. Let's move on to the next spell. The next spell is Gorkel Fix It. And this one may not seem super useful to people right off the bat. It takes away vigor, speed, and charge bonus, and it lasts for 38 seconds. You can target the ground or an enemy, and it affects all enemies within a 45-meter range. I actually find this to be extremely useful, and the reason it is because it takes away that charge bonus and speed, which is very, very important for cavalry. Let's go demonstrate what this looks like on the battlefield. Alright, so when using Gorkel Fix It, I find it useful to cast it just a little bit early on the enemy because you can target their unit. It's now been cast. These guys just lost a whole bunch of their speed. You can see how significantly it slows them down. They lost charge bonus. So I'm going to charge this Reiksguard, which I believe would be a pretty potent match for Boar Boy Biggins. And again, this is another spell that can be used in concert with something, say, like Sneaky Stabbin. So like if I wanted to, I could slow down their charge, I could kick in Sneaky Stabbin, and all of a sudden my guys are going to start causing a pretty significant amount of damage to enemy units in a fight that they may not otherwise do all that well in. And we'll test just a straight up charge against the Reiksguard in a moment to see what the results are. But you can see here that I'm going to get a pretty decisive victory over the Reiksguard with a combination of Gorkel Fix It and Sneaky Stabbin. You could even drop an Icky Nuisance in there. Again, it depends on how important that fight is and whether you want to pour that much mana in. Even just the Gorkel Fix It makes a huge difference because speed is so critical to cavalry charges. So we can see that was a pretty straightforward victory. Let's see what it looks like if I don't use Gorkel Fix It and Icky Nuisance. Do bear in mind that Reiksguard is not an anti-cavalry type cavalry, but it's 120 armor, and you know, it has a pretty heavy hitting power. So that's why I'm testing the Boar Boy Biggins against it. And let's just see what the difference is in this fight. You can see my guys definitely took the worst of that charge from the Reiksguard. Again, the huge armor differential. We look at melee attack and defense, so it's 32-28. Here it's only 20 and 18. My guys do have a bonus versus large, which helps them, but I'm pretty sure you're going to see that my guys get soundly defeated here when they take the Reiksguard without the help. I said that. Their guys are wavering. So, I mean, it's just on the charge, my guys definitely took a lot more damage than they did last time. So it doesn't look like this is a fight the Reiksguard wins one way or the other, but there was definitely a better performance on behalf of my men in the first one. They got more kills and the Reiksguard got less kills, so there is definitely a difference. And again, Reiksguard is not an anti-cavalry type of unit, so don't expect that to be a huge difference, but let's just kind of, you know, out of curiosity now, I wonder just how far you could take this. So let's do one more test just for the ultimate test. This is coming up against Demigryph Knights. Better get a counter charge. We slow down their charge just in time. I'm going to hit them with Icky Nuisance. And Demigryph Knights aided on the charge pretty bad. And I'm going to use also Sneaky Stabbin. So if I use all of these, is a Boar Boy Biggin capable of trying to stand its ground against a Demigryph Knight with halberds? And I think the answer is going to be no, but again, look at the performance here from the Boar Boy Biggins against a extremely superior unit. Again, this just gives you an idea of just how significant the buffs are from a lore of the Little Waaagh. Do not underestimate this lore. I rarely see it used to good effect like this, and it definitely can be used to good effect. Look at that. Demigryph Knights are losing. They got defeated by a Boar Boy Biggin. And if I rerun this test without doing anything, I promise you that won't be the case. Here is the test without anything done for my Boar Boy Biggins. I'm still surprised that Demigryph Knights take that much damage on the charge. That's pretty surprising, but they should win this. They disengaged. Way to go, AI. This is annoying. I know they're shock cavalry, but they shouldn't have disengaged like that. Alright, I'm actually controlling the Demigryph Knights for this test, because when I tested against the AI kept pulling out because it's a shock cavalry, and they may very well do the same while they're controlling the Boar Biggins. But you can see that while I'm controlling the Demigryph Knights, I get a solid charge. I went ahead and left my guys in a thick formation because I did the same thing to the AI. So I am getting a little bit surrounded, but let's watch and see if indeed the Boar Biggins can win the fight versus the Demigryph Knights. And the answer is most assuredly not. So the Demigryph Knights win that pretty convincingly. Not near as convincingly as they would have back in the day, but they win. So again, Lore of the Little Waaagh plays a huge role. So the final spell in the Little Waaagh is Curse of the Bad Moon. And you know what, I didn't look to see if there was overcast in some of these. Yeah, there's not on the other ones, except for Vindictive Glare, which we looked at. And then Night Shroud I haven't looked at yet. Well, actually it's not, so this is not the last one. We'll take a look at Night Shroud. But Curse of the Bad Moon gives a massive debuff to melee attack, armor, and speed. And it's pretty interesting. It's kind of a big, large vortex spell. If you overcast it, it takes a ton. It has a 52-second duration. I don't recommend this because it's almost never going to stay on target for that long. And there's a chance it can double back on your own men. It is pretty costly in what it takes to cast it, but let's just go give a demonstration real quick of what a Little Waaagh army is capable of. This will be against the AI, but just bear this in mind. Alright, I'm going to demonstrate a good use of the lore of the Little Waaagh against a full Empire army. The Empire army is being controlled by the AI. This is a good way to demonstrate what happens in campaign. It's not quite so easy as this in multiplayer because the human player probably won't be quite as blobbed up as this, but if you're going to play against, say, like dwarfs, for instance, who have to basically camp in their own defense, then this can definitely be a useful type setup here. I've got some fast riders in the back, and what I'm going to show you is just kind of how you can make use of these lures to be quite effective here. I'm going to go ahead and drop the Curse of the Bad Moon out here, and it's going to disrupt the advance of the Empire. I'm going to roll forward. I'm going to start doing my thing here, pinning down Empire Cav. I got hit with the Net of Amantok, which is unfortunate because that's going to kind of screw up my assault, but hey, that's something the Empire can do. But you can see that it's I've managed to disrupt the Empire almost as much as they've disrupted me, and there's a long-lasting curse in effect on many of their units. So let's just go charging in here, get some combat started, and we can wipe out their skirmishers. Let's roll in here from the flank with the Boar Boys. Got these big uns. And again, I'm just going to show you how the lore of the Little Waaagh can be so effective. I can drop a whole bunch of the enemy effectiveness over there. Just able to get over here. Let's go ahead and swing these guys back in. Just chase the demigriffs. Let's get these guys, bring our fast cavalry back in. We got a good flank charge over here with the boys. Let's roll out. And again, we can keep using Little Waaagh to buff our men. I'm getting sneaky Stabbins off. We've successfully harassed all of their guys here. Just keep our guys rolling around. So yeah, you can see the sneaky Stabbin and all the other stuff plays a big role. I'm going to use the shrooms here to try and get my guy built back up. So yeah, the usefulness of the lore of the Little Waaagh is pretty significant in my opinion. You can see how it's definitely helped me out in some of the fights. Like I said, the AI is not going to be the most brilliant thing to test against, but the Curse of the Bad Moon was able to disrupt their formation. Uses a ton of mana. I still had enough left over for Icky Nuisance and Sneaky Stabbin. You could also use stuff like the Gorkel Fix It. You'd have enough left for that. So if you needed to help impact the cavalry fight, you'd have that option open to you as well. The Great Goblin Shaman has access to a monstrous wolf, which is pretty useful. Let's actually leave that attack going on. Let's charge these swordsmen, bring our spider riders over here. Just kind of keep moving. Let's maybe get into the back of this fight. And we got my shaman. Drop a sneaky Stabbin over here. Again, it'll help all of our guys who are fighting the enemy lord. I just feel like the greenskins, between the lore, the Little Waaagh, the Big Waaagh, all the poison units, some of the frenzy units and other stuff, I feel like the greenskins have a ton of tools at their disposal. They're not invincible, but they're good. And you have solid units like these Black Orcs. And then you just got all these utility units like Boar Boys, Wolf Riders, Spider Riders, all these units that can have their own usefulness if they're used properly. And like I said, all the buffs that you can give your guys to make them stronger. I just find it to be very useful when it all gets put together. Now there is one last spell to test, which is Night Shroud. Let's go take a look at it. So this is a spell that you target on enemies. It's got a 300-meter range, which is quite a lot, and it takes away 92% of their visibility and 30% of their accuracy. And it takes that away for a pretty good while. How could this be helpful? Let's go take a look. This is kind of a long shot, but you know it could still be helpful. So all the units I've selected have they have the stalk ability, which can make them not be visible on the map unless they're close enough to the enemy to get spotted. Let's give this a little test. I got a 300 range on this Night Shroud. These units are forward deployed under stalk. Just going to give a demonstration here. My guys are still hidden, and this spell lasts for about a minute, which is a pretty good long while. It's got a nice big radius of effect. I'm going to cast it. So Night Shroud is in play. My guys should be able to advance and stay undetected for even longer because the accuracy has been disrupted and the visibility range has been disrupted. So will this ever get used against a human successfully? I don't know, but you can see just how close my guys can get and not be spotted. Now, these stock units can get pretty close as it is, but I mean that's how close they got, and like I said, the accuracy is being impacted here too. So my guys finally did get spotted, but there's a pretty significant reduction to accuracy that goes along with this too. So this would be a useful spell if you were trying to pull some sneaky stuff off, like sneaking some guys through the woods or something else like that. This lasts for quite a long time. My goblins aren't fast enough to catch these guys. You could use this with something like wolf riders, like I said, to help keep them concealed. The Night Goblin Shaman is a vanguard unit with stock itself. You can see that it's not even spotted at the moment. So you can even combine it with a spell like Gorkel Fix It. It'll slow these guys down. I don't know if it'll be enough for me to catch them, but it might, just out of curiosity. It's not going to last long enough for me to catch them, I don't think, but it definitely slows them down. You can see that it starts to make up the difference. But I think they'll start getting away from me. Now, normally these guys are pretty tired by the time you get there because they've been shooting. Yeah, it was almost enough for me to make the difference there, but actually it did. They finally caught him. So, yeah, you can see that there's some sneaky usefulness to some of the spells in the Little Waaagh here, too. So that's Night Shroud. It's going to keep your guys from being spotted for a little longer. I don't think it's going to be amazing, but if you're just feeling like pulling out some type of particularly sneaky strategy, you've got it there, and it could be fun. How'd you all enjoy the lore of the Little Waaagh? Overall, I rate this as probably one of the better lores of Magic in this game. I still think lore of vampires is probably one of the strongest, but I think Little Waaagh and Big Waaagh are coming in pretty close for me. The Light Wizard obviously is also pretty good with the lore of Light. So I don't know. What do you all think? Where would you rank the Little Waaagh? Do you think I got these tests right? Do you think I'm missing anything? Anything you want to add? Let me know. HeirofCarthage signing out. Hope you enjoyed this.